The Brimmed Cap group is the biggest threat to Qifrey and Coco, but I'm going to prove to you that they actually have a point, and that there's real logic behind what they're doing. This isn't me defending the antagonists. This is an honest attempt to dig into what the story and its author are genuinely trying to tell us. Let's start from the very beginning. The character in the Big Eye mask is named Iguin, and in my opinion, he's the true driving force behind the organization. They're fighting against the brutal consequences of the Pact. The Pact is a set of rules that every witch is required to follow. Break the rules and you get your memory wiped as punishment. Break them seriously enough and your entire personality gets erased completely. On the surface, that sounds pretty reasonable. Dangerous magic should be kept under control. Witches should be held accountable. But here's what the manga shows us very carefully. If you're paying attention, the Pact doesn't just restrict dangerous practices, it locks in a monopoly. Magic is only accessible to those who've been let into the system. Witches are born into witch families, or receive their blessing at specific places. Coco is an exception because she accidentally stumbled into forbidden knowledge. But how many people outside of that system will never get access to magic simply because they weren't born in the right place or the right way? And speaking of things that aren't fair, I still don't have your subscription to the channel. I'm uploading videos every single day, and I really want you to be able to see them. Thank you so much for subscribing, and now let's get back to it. The ideology of the Brimmed Cap group is simple and straightforward, accessible to everyone, the way it was before the Pact. That doesn't sound like the manifesto of some dark evil organization. It sounds like something that's genuinely hard to argue with, because it actually makes sense. Here are some specific moments from the manga that show the Brimmed Cap group in a completely unexpected light. Iguin never once directly harms Coco, even though he's had plenty of opportunities to do so. He shows up near her at key moments. He watches over her and sometimes even protects her through the circumstances he creates. He calls her a child of hope. That's not the language of someone who sees her as just a tool. That's the language of someone who has placed something genuinely meaningful onto her. The Brimmed Caps don't act against ordinary people. Their conflict is with the witch system, with the Pact, and with those who enforce it. When tragedies happen in the story, it's almost always as a side effect of clashing with the knights, or as the result of one specific plan. That's an important distinction. They have a clear goal, and that goal is not destruction for the sake of destruction. Their knowledge actually works. I know that the body magic they use is forbidden under the Pact, but it allows them to do things that official magic simply cannot. The silver tree, the ink experiments, the integration of magic, these are all areas of knowledge that the Pact buried, not because they're useless, but because they're too powerful. Who decided that this knowledge should be locked away forever? Qifrey is essentially their proof against the system and the Pact. Yes, we know the Brimmed Cap group did certain things to him. But look at the outcome from their perspective. They see a man with no memory, no family, no past, who became one of the most powerful mages in the world. He mastered water magic in spite of his fear. He developed his own unique style. He found meaning in his life. The Brimmed Caps will tell you that this proves their way works. And you can't easily argue back, because Qifrey really did become an extraordinary person. But there are things the Brimmed Caps do that no ideology can ever justify. They erase memories, not as a last resort and not as a form of protection, but as a tool of control. They do it to people who get in their way, to those who learn too much. They claim to believe in justice, and yet they do things that completely contradict that very cause. And this is where the manga does something really difficult. It doesn't let you pick a simple side. The Brimmed Caps aren't just antagonists with a pretty speech. They are people carrying real pain, with real reasons not to trust the witch system, and at the same time, they are willing to inflict those same wounds on others in pursuit of their goal. There's a shot in the anime opening that I genuinely can't stop thinking about. Iguin reaches out and offers Coco a wide-brimmed hat, not a pointed one like the witches normally wear. In the manga, there's a tradition. The hat isn't just an accessory. It's a statement of who you decide to be, and that shot is telling us something very specific. At some point, Coco is going to face a choice. Not between the light side and the dark side, that would be way too simple, but between the system that took her in and the truth that system has been hiding. Between her loyalty to the people she loves and the understanding that this world is built on injustice, that magic is saturated with deception. The Brimmed Caps believe she'll choose the truth. And honestly, after everything we learn about the witch world throughout the manga, I completely get why they think that. Their leader watched the Pact suppress magic. He watched the system shut its doors on anyone who didn't fit the established order, and he made the decision to break that system through any means he could find. The problem is that they lost sight of the line a long time ago, and now they allow themselves to do absolutely anything. When Iguin shows up on screen, don't look at him as a threat. Every single one of his scenes is really a question directed at the witch system. Is this actually fair? Is this actually necessary? Who decided it had to be this way? Pay attention to one detail that's really easy to miss. Every time Iguin talks about Coco, his tone shifts. It's not the tone of a manipulator. It's the tone of someone who genuinely believes in something. And that is exactly what makes him such a fascinating character. If you start asking those questions alongside him, the story opens up in a completely different way, and you'll realize that the hardest thing about Witch Hat Atelier isn't the Brimmed Caps themselves. The hardest thing is that they're not entirely villains. They're a deeply complex organization. We're used to stories where antagonists want power, resources, or chaos. The Brimmed Caps want freedom, because for the sake of that freedom, they're willing to do the very things that betray it. Iguin reaches out and offers Coco the hat, and with it, a different path.